Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this fourth day of faculty development program on electrochemical energy conversion and storage. Today we are again going to hear from Professor Yogesh Sharma. And without any further delay, let me hand over the session to Professor. Over to you, sir.
Good morning to everyone. I hope in the last session or yesterday, you had discussed so many things about batteries, and now you have some idea what are the different topics we should look for, and a person who want to start research in this area, or if he wants to do some innovation in this area, then I will give some tips today. And I have two presentations, two parts in my presentation. One is I will discuss some theory, some small part, how to design a battery, right? Designing of a battery, and then some video that how we do manufacturing of those batteries, right? So I hope it will be a little interesting. Right, so let me share my presentation with you all. I hope it is shared now.
Professor, we can see the screen, but
right.
not presentation yet.
Yes. Let me. Yes. Is it clear? I hope.
Yeah, it's very much clear.
Right. So as we were discussing yesterday, why lithium or why battery? I mean, the battery, as I discussed last day, that it is a device which contains energy, which store energy as a chemical, and then whenever is requirement, then this energy, the chemical energy, will change into electrical energy. This is a simple example of a cell. Battery, sometimes people say single cell also can be called as a battery. However, if you need more voltage and more capacity, then you need to add number of cells in either in series or in parallel, depending upon which application you are looking for, right? So in those sense, the single cell also can be called as a battery. However, usually it is a combination of series or parallel combination of a different cells. Now, why lithium? As I discussed to you, because today we are going to design a battery, so we need to know what specific criteria we should look for when we want to design a battery. So if you look at this slide, which sorry. So lithium is the lightest in all metal. And this we have discussed that what Faraday's law says, or Coulomb's law, that you need to have the equivalent amount of molecular weight will give you always 98,650 coulombs. So if it is a heavier metal, that also contain the same amount of charge, and if it is a lighter metal, then again it will be having a similar charge. So if you want to specifically look for light batteries, then essentially you need to have a smaller molecular weight material. In that sense, you can see the example of, so this demonstration, we have a bulb here. Let's say if you want to glow a bulb at 1 volt for a 1 ampere current for 1 hour, 1 ampere current for 1 hour, how much amount of elements is required? In this case, you have lead, cadmium, and lithium. So just 2.26 gram, 0.26 gram lithium is required to glow a bulb for 1 ampere current at 1 ampere current for 1 hour. So this is example why we really look for lithium batteries, right? So in that sense, if energy density we talk about, lithium has highest energy density. Energy density means ampere hour is a capacity per kilogram. So lithium has 3860 ampere hour per kilogram. So this means we should look for a battery element in which energy density can be maximum, number one. And what should we see in other properties? Highly electropositive. This means a standard hydrogen electrode, its potential is minus 3.05 volt. So whatever you will take as a counter electrode, you will be having an output voltage of around 3 volt. So this means this lithium is really a good compound, a good element to use as a storage species. So in that sense, largest energy density to weight can be obtained with lithium systems. So that's why lithium ion batteries or lithium, I discussed last day what is the difference between lithium batteries and lithium ion batteries. Lithium batteries, metal as a anode being used in a lithium metal, which is unsafe, so it was discarded. Later in 1991, Sony introduced this battery, which is lithium ion battery, because ion will be settling between this like this. You can say that this is an example what are the complete this is discharge. So this is a charging, these are the batteries. So now you want to discharge it. Maybe this is not working probably. What happens? See, when you go to market, the lithium ion batteries is just in a discharge state. Discharge state means you have lithium cobalt oxide, one cathode, and graphite as an anode. Now, when you want to charge a battery, what will happen? While charging, this cathode material, the ion will be extracted. So these ions, which are the lithium ion inside between these two plates, so these lithium ions will be extracted and enter into this graphite through this electrolyte, right? So this will be charging. So these ions will go from this side to this side, and then they will have simple settling between these two electrodes. So ion will start from here and electron will go from the outer circuit like this. So while discharging, so now it is charge state. Means lithium has been extracted from lithium cobalt oxide. They have been entered into the graphite, and now they look like this. So you have Li1 minus X CO2 plus LiC6. So this is the compound in discharge state. Now, sorry, charge state. Now you want to discharge it. What will happen? Then these will be, electron will be coming from outside, and then bulb will glow. And then ion will come through. Same amount of charge, positive charge will be liberated. Same amount of electron will come out. So they will be, see, now you again, the speed of electron is faster, right? And ions are heavier, so they come slowly. But equal amount of charge has to be there. Otherwise, charge balance will not be occurring. So essentially, you could imagine that electron will be moving at a fast. So there is a limitation that a battery can be charged or not at a faster rate. That is a remarkable change when you would like to arrange whether I can charge a battery on a faster rate or not. I mean, if you say I want to charge a battery of a mobile in 10 minutes, it is not possible because iron is heavier and the movement of iron, the velocity of iron will always remain smaller than the electron. So we cannot see whether it will be similar like a ionic system. So, but there are some strategies people are doing. The strategies are because diffusion in battery, diffusion takes place. So when diffusion takes place, it has its limitation to diffuse. And if diffusion or bulk material has to react, then it will have always some relaxation time, which is quite higher in this case. So designing a battery for a high rate application or design a battery for small rate application, both the properties of material will be entirely different. So you cannot use a battery for a faster power application, which is only made up of for a specific application. You could say that whether this specific amount, for example, 20, let's say you have a circuit where 2 ampere current is required. However, your battery is 1 ampere hour. So 2 ampere current, if you want to extract from a battery, whether a battery can give or not. So in principle, 1 ampere, 1 hour, 2 ampere, 1.5 hour, but it will not be 1.5 hour. 2 ampere current may not be the same as of 1 ampere hour current requirement. So essentially, if you want to design a battery for a specific application, both type of material, its fabrication policies, fabrication protocol will be changed. So we will discuss in detail. So how to set up a electrochemical device? This will be simple. Battery is not actually a device. It is a combination of huge expertise. It's not a simple metal or simple actually device, and no one from a specific background can make a full battery. For example, a chemical engineer, he may work on some specific part for mass transfer. An electrical engineer will be looking for its charging capabilities. A physicist and chemist will be looking for the physical phenomenon of charge storage. A chemistry people will be looking for how to manufacture the material, how to prepare the material, and an electrochemist will also come into picture. Material scientist will come into picture. So it is not only a physics background, chemistry background, chemical engineering, electrical engineering. You have to have an interdisciplinary approach with multidisciplinary aspect. So that's why battery, you have so many of interfaces. You have electrolyte here, you have electrode here, you have metallic substrate here. How many interfaces you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 interfaces has to be mastered. Then in the material itself, you have so many of interfaces. So it is a multifaceted problem because electrode have a several component, electrolyte also have a several component. So every component has to be optimized to get a better performance, right? So now if I want to make a battery, how to select a material? As I told you, the material, if you want to use, it should be of low molecular weight. If somebody asks you, you have something like a metal oxide, zinc oxide and tin oxide. zinc oxide and tin oxide. Which one will be preferable? So molecular weight, if small, then you will go with the smaller molecular weight material. Zinc oxide I will opt. But then zinc oxide you are using as a cathode or as an anode. If you are using as an anode, then how much amount of lithium or how much amount of extra charge can be stored in this zinc oxide, that has to be examined. Then only you can propose that this specific material whether can be useful for our battery application or not. So material selection, it should be cost effective. Number one, it should be environment compatible. In terms of a material, if you want to have some conductivity, so electronic and ionic conductivity should be good in that material. So for ionic and electronic conductivity, you need to have some void gap in its crystal structure. Therefore, it will have good transport properties, right? So material processing again must be cost effective. You cannot use any material processing by which you can only make few milligram or few microgram of material, because tons of material is required for a battery application, tons of material. So essentially, if you are working in these areas, you need to look for whether my material can be processed at a industrial scale or not. Otherwise, it will not be useful for your technology transfer. The method by which you are preparing the material, it should be of high order of reproducibility. I mean, reproducibility is extremely important in those areas, because the properties, morphology is very critical. If you have a spherical particle and then you have some plates, then density, the tap density of the electrode will be entirely different. So you have to have a highly reproducible material in terms of its morphology, in terms of its crystal structure, in terms of its porosity, in terms of surface area, etc., etc. So if we want to make a material for a specific application, say battery cathode material, battery anode material, then it has to be highly reproducible. Otherwise, the same data you will never get. Though one problem in reproducibility, then another batch of device will be just waste of your efforts. Materials, performance and testing. So when you do all material selection, materials processing, then you have to test it, whether it has a good performance or bad performance. So in that sense, you need to check the energy density. Energy density means energy per unit gram or per unit volume. Similarly, power density, power per unit density means gram, either specific power or gravimetric or volumetric, both. Rate capability means it is a rate capable. A battery, it can deliver charge at a slow rate and it can be delivered charge at higher rates. So 1 ampere current has to be extracted, 2 ampere current has to be extracted. So device should not change its velocity. So device should be capable of delivering whatever the current you are requiring, right? So, and then cyclability, endurance test, we call endurance test. How long your battery will work, isn't it? How long? 1 year, 2 year. In number of cycles also people talk about 1000 cycle, 2000 cycles. So one charge and one discharge, say we say one cycle, right? So if you want to have a device, which usually we want to have, we look for fast charging batteries. So fast charging batteries, you cannot change so many of intrinsic properties of the material, but we can change its surface properties. We can change some different strategy we can apply. So because diffusion has to be controlled. So if diffusion has to be controlled, in that sense, you can have so many strategies in terms of, if we make nanostructures, then fast charging is possible because the response time is inversely proportional to the diffusion constant, and directly proportional to the square of the diffusion length. So if you diffusion length you reduce, then time will be reduced. So this means you can have a fast response if you have a nanostructured material. Surface modification is one of the technique by which you can coat your material so that robustness of the material will maintained, because robustness is extremely important for our application. You need to charge discharge for so many number of times. So this means the crystal structure, the material backbone should not be ruptured, so it should be robust enough so that a number of times ions can be settled between these two both the electrodes. Another one is dopant manipulation. Can you use some dopant into your host structures by which conductivity will change, some defects will change, activation energy of ion movement will be changed. So like that people use dopant manipulation. Hybrid composite design, you can have a conducting additives. So for example, if I want to increase the conductivity of the material so that it can be extracted at a faster rate for fast charging batteries, then hybrid compositing is also one of the designing. So these are the designing. Now if you want to make a nanostructure, which type of nanostructure should be good for our application? One-dimensional network, three-dimensional conducting network, or two-dimensional conducting network. So electrode architecturing is also being done by us to know which specific dimension useful for us. So if nanotechnology has to be used for a better application in fast charging, then what we should look for? So nanotechnology will always give high surface area, high electrolyte contact area will be more, better adaptability to the strain, better cyclability. Shorter path length means T equal to L square by 2D. D cannot be manipulated. Diffusion coefficient is always same, but you can change this length. So nanomaterial, you can make different type of nanomaterials. Nanoparticles, nanorod, nanotube, nanowires. So which type of material would be good for us? It is being shown in schematic here. So we have three type of nanostructures: nanomaterial, nanoparticle, and then you can say nanorods, and sometimes you have nanofibers. So in those cases, if you have one-dimensional system which has high aspect ratio, porosity is there, and it is aligned, can effectively decline the surface energy, reduces the aggregation possibility of active material, which will give you better adaptability, better electrolyte interfacing. So some of the interfacing you can manipulate. For example, I have this high aspect ratio aligned in one-dimensional porous nanofiber. It is a metal oxide. So this is sort of a skeleton, right? So in this sense, I can have better wettability because electrolyte can percolate into the interior of this skeleton. High ionic flux rate capability can be improved so that at faster rate ion will be transported through these pores. Then minimum interparticle resistance. If one particle has to go to another particle, in this case you can say the first figure, you have one particle to another particle, so they have interparticle resistance use. But in this case, you have one particle connected to another particle, but having voids in between. So you can say one particle and one particle, they have voids. So all the particles have been connected through these voids so that the wettability will be highly increased. Therefore, you will have minimum interparticle resistance. Increased surface area, inner as well as outer. This implies more active sites for storage. Morphological voids gaps acts as insertion deinsertion sites for extra storage performance. And then what will happen when you do extraction insertion of ions? It will induce huge amount of stress and strain into the composite electrode. what will happen in those cases, you need to have some buffering space in which this induced stress can be uh, buffered. So you have some buffering space in between these two particles. So by doing this nano materials engineering or materials engineering, electrode engineering, we would be able to have some better performance. So how to get this nanofiber? So we use electrospinning technique. In this electrospinning technique, you need to use some polymer, and then when you apply some external electric field, this polymer becomes a jet, and then you will get these different type of nanofibers. So these are the nanofibers. You can control their thickness, you can control their diameters, you can control their alignment, etc. So effect of system and process parameter on the diameter, this we have done. So I'm not going into detail, but by changing some of the precursor, you can make nanoparticle, you can make nanorods, you make nanofibers, you can make dense nanofibers. And the properties in terms of impedance, etc., will entirely different for all the cases. So this manipulation can be done with this method. Using some same material, using some same techniques, you can make number of materials uh, for different applications. So I'm not going into detail. Now, what are the steps which are being used to make a battery? Right? And what is the application of that? So I'm just giving you into some idea what are the steps you have. This is a powder form. This powder of a metal oxides to be used for electrode. What to do? Because all metal oxides are usually insulator. If you want to do electroding, how to do that? I mean, you want to extract some charge from a material, individual particle can, you cannot make a specific connection, electrical signal connection to a single particle. So what you need to do? You need to mix with some conducting carbon so that individual particle will be connected, which we call electronic wiring. And then it has to be mixed with some conducting carbon, PVDFs, so that it will be coated over a substrate. That substrate is supposed to be a conducting substrate, at which we call it electroding. So electroding and active material will be kept on this electroding. So in this case, you have powder form. You are making here a slurry. You are mixing them, carbon, activated carbon, and your PVDF, etc. You are mixing them here, and then you are coating. So here is a coater. This coating is a Dr. blade technique you are using to make a thickness of around 20 micron of your electrode thickness. So then you will be cutting them by a die. So these are the dies by which you can cut them, and then you will press them to have some intimate contact of electrode material to the substrate. And thereafter you will put into some furnaces, you will dry it enough, and then you will get some better electrodes. So when you fabrication this coin cells, 2016 20 mm diameter and 1.6 mm thickness, what you need to do in this case, you can have all the electrode into the anti-chambers, then you can put into your glow box, and then you can make this type of coin cell by this our punching machine. So this is about the coin cell. Similar way you can apply for pouch cell. Only in that case your electrode will be bigger in that sense, and then you have a different instruments which we will be discussing detail in a due course. So ultimately, if you want to design a battery, how to design that, what are the properties we should look for. So if you have any questions so far, you please ask so that we can answer. Later I will show you some video and then you will get some more idea about how to manufacture a battery. So if you have any question, you please switch on your mic and camera and you may ask. Yes, Dr. Ravi Chandra, do you want to ask something? Okay, then if there is no question, then I will go through the video. I have 2-3 videos and I will narrate them. First I want to show you that and later one by one I will speak about them. So in this case, when we start doing some battery fabrication, before that we need to prepare our materials. So preparing material, stoichiometric amount of the compound is to be taken and then you can mix with some of the solvents which usually taken for your compounds. So when you want to use this stoichiometric amount, then it will be taken for a while to stir them to make some simple clear solution. So in a minute it will be a clear solution. So this clear solution is clear now for making some your electrodes. Those electrodes we call use making by some nanofibers. So we are making nanofiber them. So it is a syringe by which the solution can be taken into a syringe and then this solution will come out through. So this specific machine we have electrospinning setup. So in that sense, you need to have in this device, you need to have a high voltage of the order of 30 to 40 kV or 20 to 40 kV, and then when you pressurize it, the solution will come out with some small rate, maybe 1 ml per hour or 2 ml, 4 ml per hour, like that. So that ml per hour, it will give you some, when you will apply some electric field, what will happen, that one time you are pressurizing it, at the same time electric field will apply, that electric field will align them to get collected at a ground. So that's what, when you take it to maybe some voltage and you have current collection, so this is drum which is collecting all the fibers. So these fibers are going from here, see, yes, this one, these are the fibers which are being attracted by your substrate, see. So all nanofibers are being collected at drum. So this process usually takes place. So this same process people using in your many different industries for your clothes. So nano fabric clothes are coming these days. So all textile engineering, textile company, they are using nanofibers. So usually nanofibers is being used for your polymers to get spun, and through polymer you can also spun your own metal oxides. So metal precursors, when you heat it, now you get that these, so it is a discharging process because 40 kilovolt is huge charge. So static charge will be there. So that why that's the researcher is getting rid of this static charge. And this is a seat. Now he will be cutting. This seat is a aluminum foil, right? And look, this is a white color polymer or metal precursors. So then you will be just drying it enough for 12 hours, and then when it will be getting dried enough, it will be peeled off from your this aluminum foil. So at a certain temperature it will be dried, and then once solvent will be get out, then you can have, so this heating is always vacuum heating. So under the vacuum pressure this heating will be done. So video is not visible. Okay, I am showing you the visible. I thought it is visible. So this is the solution which I was talking to you. The people usually make this solution, and then this solution will be clear in 1 minute. Then It will be loaded in a syringe. It is electrospinning setup in which we are loading this syringe, and there is a pump. At a specific speed, this pump will force this solution out, and when it will be coming out, it will see a high electric field of 20 to 30 kV. And then, yeah, so you have a drum collector which will be rotating at some specific RPM. So this side, it's a drum, you can see. And this is a ground. So you have two positive potential and ground. So you are applying high voltage of around 20 kV. So this will give you idea of how much kilovolt is required. And this is a drum collection. So this information is required, that how much the speed you want while collecting this nanofibers at your substrate. So this is a rotating collector, and these are the fibers going down. Look. So usually polymers can be spun through this technique, electrospinning. And in this case, you also can have all polymers which can be spun through. Textile company, they are using, or textile industries are using nanofibric clothes. So it is a very good technique for scalability. So you can have multiple nodules also. So amount of spinning can be increased significantly, but the lab level it is okay. So after that, you will getting a static charge to be grounded. So because 40 kV is huge amount of potential difference, so it will create some static charge. So you need to always grounded it. Then it will be taken out. So all the nanofibers which were collected over this material, over the substrate which is aluminum foil, will be taken out. And this is the white color now. So all polymer and other metal oxides precursors have been spun. So it will be drying under vacuum for, say, overnight. Once it will be dried enough, you will be peeling it off from your current collectors, from your aluminum. So this is a process of making nanofibers, nanofibric metal oxides. So you could see that a specific vacuum will go, and then using this vacuum technique, you can evaporate whatever the leftover solvents inside this film. So this whole system is now dried enough. You will be seeing that you can peel it off without much of problem. So this one is your seat. Now you can use as if your people these days are using such type of seat for your mask. So simple, but we are not using this polymeric mask seat. We will be heating it up because we are not interested having polymer within this material. So we will do a small heating, maybe 0.5 degree per minute. Slow heating is required to maintain the integrity of your nanofibers. What will happen if you will heat at a faster rate? all nanoparticles will be, nanofiber will be broken down and all the particles will be made. So once you got these idea, if you, once you made your this fiber, it is heated at a certain temperature, then it will be ended with some this powder. This powder will be further characterized in your XRD, your polymer, etc. So this type of material will be further used. So it is another example of how to process the material. So in this case, we use some anode material where we make some material using some bio waste to make some hard carbon or activated carbon using some chemical methods, which I don't want to go to into detail. So these are the processing by which we do. So once you have this type of material in your hand, later you can make them nanoparticles also using this hydrothermal technique, in which it is a reactor where we can control temperature as well as pressure inside a bomb. So this bomb will be useful for making nanoparticle and giving some in situ coating of some other species. So that's what this is important for us to investigate these different type of material. So this is some process I gave you some idea that we had some information about how to process, how to make a material. Once you have, once you make the material, now we want to make a battery. For making a battery, before that you need to test it whether the material has been formed or not. We use XRD. So X-ray we have in our lab. So this XRD will tell you whether the phase is formed or not. So it is a XRD. So this we are doing some phase analysis. Once it is done, then it will take some time, and then thereafter you will be ended with some phase formation, which will be further characterized or further processed to know how much impurity, how much different phases, what is the particle size, whether it is fitting or not. Now this process starts making slurry. Making slurry means pasting. So these are the electrode formation started. So electrode formation is, let's say you have your activated carbon here, you need to add with some specific proportion, say 10% of total weight or 5% of total weight. It is all used for making some electronic wiring. Once electronic wiring is done, then it will be coated. Right. So specific proportion of PVDF conducting carbon active material is being weighed. So once it is done, it will be mixed thoroughly. So that mixing of the material is extremely important, because homogeneous mixing is required. Otherwise, you will not get your data which you are expecting. So this furnace, this weighing balance can go up to 6th decimal place. So it's a micro balance, because the weight of battery, weight of active material, weight of electrode is extremely important for us to know how much the active material being used. Otherwise, all calculation will be wrong if your weight is not accurate. So accuracy of weight up to 5th decimal place is very important in our case. So once it is mixed, we will use some other PVDF solution. So PVDF solution is a binder, because this material has to be bind at your current collector, because we are making battery. So this has to be coated over a current collector. So current collector, how it will be coated? When, if it will not be having a binder, then it will be difficult for us to have. Therefore, it is a solution. Different percentage of PVDF people use, starting from 15% to 15% to 5% or 7%. But let me tell you, these all are unwanted compounds. They are not calculated for capacity, but they are adding a weight, isn't it? And conducting carbon does not give any capacity. This PVDF does not give any capacity, but they are adding a weight to the battery. So eventually, if you have more amount of conducting carbon, more amount of PVDF, they are giving extra. So this is a Miller. Now this is Miller. Earlier I was showing you some mixing. So it will be under vacuum mixing. So we have a vacuum mixer. It will run for 30 minutes. So vacuum and then mixing. So homogeneous mixing is required for this. If you have a small amount of humidity inside your room, then your slurry will be bad. You will not be having, because your material has to be coated over the another substrate. So maybe 30 minutes mixing will be enough for this case. 30 seconds or 30 minutes also, just a demonstration. So once it is done, it will be taken out and then it will be coated over a, this is a current collector which we call copper current collector. So it is a foil, copper foil. So this copper foil is semi-matte and it is a coater, Dr. Blade technique. So it is a vacuum sucker. It will suck the surface and it becomes homogeneously flattened. Then you will be seeing, so we can control thickness of this film using this. So it is done. Now this slurry or this solution or ink can be poured over this current collector. Let's say this is, and then you have controlled the thickness, and then you can start this plunger, and then speed it will go slowly to the forward side. See, so this is your electrode coating over a substrate is ready. Now this electroding is very important. If you don't have an appropriate amount of conducting carbon binder and your active material, this may not be enough adequately dried. It will not be sticky to your current collector. So now temperature has started. So it will be heated at 76 or 80 degree. And once it is done, you will take it out and transfer to another oven. Then you will transfer it to another oven, and then it will be transferred to another oven and it will be dried. So this is our twin roller. Twin roller is required because you want to have intimate contact of powder to your current connector. That's why it will be taken through two roller, point to point contact, and now you can see that your electrodes has been made enough, and these are the parts of your so this one is a die to cut your electrodes. Now you could see these are the electrodes. And these are the part of your battery coin cell. So this will be a spacer and it is a spot welder. So we can weld it. Right. So when it is done, So it is a electrode ready. So this electrode has to be weighed, and then active material without coating and copper both will be weighing for 10 times to 20 times, and will take average to get how much load, how much weight of active material at this electrode is. Then they will be dried enough for at least 12 hours before transferring to the glow box. Glow box is inert atmosphere, because you need to have a inert atmosphere. So in this box we have a argon gas, right? So it has to be within this antechamber for 2 to 3 hours or 4 hours, and ensuring that it does not have any moisture content over the surface. So that's why it has to be transferred immediately, right? So these electrodes will be transferred, and then you will start a vacuum, then purging of carbon, then vacuum, then purging of argon. So this will take 2-3 times. This process will be taken place, and then only these all electrode material will be transferred to the glow box, and where you will manufacturing your coin cells. So this process has to be done slowly. Otherwise, what will happen when you evacuated any region, so all your electrodes will be going away, and therefore they have to be slow process. It has to be very slow process. So this specific process usually we do 3 to 4 times, for ensuring that we don't have anything which is detrimental to the glow box. And then pressure is getting down. You have done some setting into the glow box, so pressure is negative inside, then only your hand will go inside. Why we use? Because lithium is a material which cannot retain into the atmosphere. If it will come out, it will be explode. Therefore the handling of lithium has to be done in a inert atmosphere. And you are pouring this electrolyte. It is a separator, which is a polymeric PV. It is a separator which will be separating this, and this is a lithium metal. See, it is a lithium metal. So exactly at the same center it has to be placed. Otherwise, it will have a contact to its end, and then you will press it down. And once it is done, so this tweezer is a plastic tweezer. You cannot use any metal tweezer. So this is a die, another die, on which you will add some pressure, and then you will have your coin cell ready. So that is a manufacturing process of your button cell or coin cell. Once it is out, you will check how much potential it is, because I told you -3 volt is a electron. So 3.40 is a voltage of this battery. So this means it's a rightly manufactured. It does not have any problem. Otherwise, many times when you start manufacturing these batteries, 0 volt will come. So all these batteries has made. Now this is your tester. How to test those batteries for your coin cells. So we have multiple of testers, around 100 cell we can test at a time. So these are the testing to know how much fast cycle, how much fast rate it can obtain, etc. So this was about the coin cell. Now we have some instruments also for pouch cell. So this process scaled up, right? So everything is the same. Only the pouch cell, we have these facilities for pouch cell. and then another glow box, bigger glow box we have. And probably you can see here we made some pouch cell which are tested. This video was not made because of some time limitation, but these are the equipments which you can utilize for making your pouch cells. So we have this ultrasonic welder for electroding. With this we have cup forming machine, and then this is again our welder. Inside we have another dice and sealing machine. So these are the battery which we made. These are the batteries. Bigger, these are the pouch cells. See, right? So these all about was how to manufacturing, what are the different process. So these are the same process people usually at different laboratories. It is an industrial application. So industry also use in a similar way of your
Can I have a question, sir?
Yes, please.
Okay, sir, it's a very beautiful video. So it gives a very clear picture of how we do manufacturing, but it's a lab size one, and then for production, it will be having a kind of automated, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes.
So now when I'm seeing through the process, in a cell, we have aluminum, we have aluminum collector, right? Current collector, aluminum on the cathode side. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, and then we have a separator, and then so current collector as in copper, and then we have anode along with the current collector copper cell structure. So in
Right.
that, so lithium is only the paste which you done is an cathode paste, right? Which we make a slurry and then we made a coated. Is a cathode slurry?
No, it is for both slurry we do.
Okay, for anode and cathode.
The demonstration which I gave, it is for half cell. So
okay.
Cathode, it is for half cell, because lithium metal is a counter electrode, standard electrode is taken. So
Okay.
when you want to make a full cell, you need to test both the electrode as a half cell first. So the demonstration which we gave, it is for half cell, for a anode, and then you can use lithium as a cathode.
For cathode.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Only the testing potential will be different. For cathode, usually we test from 2 to 4 volt or 4.5 volt. For anode, we go lower side up to 5 millivolt. So if lower side we have anode good, upper side we have cathode, then difference will be cathode anode potential, plateau potential will give you output potential of a battery.
Okay. Okay. So now what you are shown, you said that a half cell, in that we have a copper and then anode slurry and then separator. These three we put together. That is the half cell you are saying, right, sir?
Yes, yes, with lithium metal.
For a lithium metal. So now when you are doing a testing, actually, I'm not from electronics or electrical side, I couldn't able to get that. So if you are a half cell, what exactly we are testing there? That means if you are sending it for electric testing, what you shown there on device. So are we showing that
for half cell? Let's say you are a manufacturer of a anode, right? So if you are making a anode material in your lab, how to test a anode material? For anode material, you need to test in lower potential side. When you apply some current, you will be discharging it and charging it. Discharge and charge has to be done within 3 volt, 3 volt to 0 volt. So if you have a plateau potential around 0.5 volt, then you can say my material will give maximum capacity at 0.5 volt, which is good for a anode material.
Okay. Okay. So for a cathode material is also similar kind of test we need to do.
Then you can, when you make the cell, it has to be charged. In a cathode side, it has to be charged. While in case of anode, it has to be discharged.
Okay.
Right, discharge and charge. So difference between discharging and charging potential will be output potential of your battery.
Okay.
So cathode charging, anode discharging.
Okay. So then, so once we prepared this cathode and anode, both, so then we will be going to combine them. And then do we need to have kind of an pressurized assembly, or is it just a
Yes, same thing as we have made coin cell, because contact has to be intimate. The cathode to anode contact must be there, otherwise battery will not work.
Okay, yeah, true. The connect must be there. Physical connect should be there without any gap.
Yes.
For 100% connectivity.
Yes, 100% point to point contact.
Okay. So now the copper foil which you shown, is the thickness is it about 20 microns or?
Yeah, 10 to 15 micron. Yeah, less than 20 micron.
Less than 20 micron. And what was the thickness of that slurry we had done? So
slurry thickness also we take 10 to 20 micron in
10
between.
to 20 micron. Okay.
Yes.
So now the capacity of the cell, does it depends on the thickness of this what is that anode material, or this? So instead of 10 15 micron, if we made it 20 30 or 70 micron, do you think that it will be having a more capacity?
Yes, because loading will be loading will be more, but whether this electrolyte will be going to the last to the material or not, then because there must be a contact between electrode to electrolyte, then only you will be having a 100% contact. If you have too much of thickness, then it will not be connected to the electrolyte. Therefore, you will be losing some of the material. Though you have calculated whole material, but the actual participation is a half.
Okay.
So trade-off. It is a trade-off between what should be a optimum thickness of your slurry.
Okay.
So that is a type. Different industries, different manufacturers do that. What must be the proportion of cathode, activated carbon, and conducting carbon, and your polymer PVDF, and what should be the thickness of your electrode. These are very important parameters which everyone master and everyone optimize as per their requirement.
Okay. Because so in one of the literature, even in one of my publication also, I have specified the specification thickness of each material. It shows that like it is about 70 microns to 80 microns for positive and negative electrode thickness, and then the foil thickness is 20-25 micron. So this is what so few manufacturers has told, and then through my literature survey, and based on that I have designed my cell. So that is where when you see you are making 20 micron, so that was my question, that if it is go more then it will be having a more capacity. But the problem is, if you go beyond the thickness, then the conductivity will be lost, and then it may not work. Kind of a recipe which by experimentation or this one we have to identify our own thickness.
Exactly. Every material has its own optimization.
Okay. And now so this is NMC what I was studied for NMC cell, okay, lithium nickel manganese cobalt cell. So that is where I got that combination thickness. Definitely it will not be same for a cobalt oxide or titan oxide kind of thing. Different will be
right
there. But so this is the process of how we manufacture the cell. Different size may be only the shape, it is not having any difference. So if it is a pouch or if it is a coin or whatever it may be, the process will be same, only shape will be changed. That is understood. Yeah, am I right, sir?
Yes.
Okay. So
the process is same. Only the size of battery will change your some of the output. For example, if you have electrode and if you roll it, right? If you keep your electrode as a straight, then no problem. But if you roll it, how much rolling is affecting?
Okay. For a coil,
rolling will change.
For cylindrical, you are saying? For cylindrical?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sir. And then now when we are talking in the yesterday session that we are thinking of sodium means so that combination again, the thickness, that this everything has to be do experimentation and find out our own recipe, and then we have to come up with an optimized cell.
Yes.
Once it is optimized, then we take it into a production. So that same kind of thickness, same kind of process will be in a what to say manufacturing scale.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, okay.
Sir, one more. In your lab, whatever the cells and whatever doing, are we going with any commercial this one, or just it's an experimental purpose you are doing, sir?
No, no, for commercial purpose we are doing.
For commercial purpose you are doing. Oh.
Yes. There is a both the people are doing research as well as some company people. So we are getting some kilos of material from outside and we are testing them.
Okay. And then the cells all is a company is taking those cells are as a commercial things and it is already in the market kind of thing, or
No, no, not yet into the market, but we are manufacturing them and testing them for a pouch cell.
okay, okay, sir. Okay. So the pouch cell is the one which is having a very wide this one. So actually my interest is on a pouch cell only.
Right.
So now for the setup what you shown for the manufacturing and all. So approximately, so how much going to be the budget, sir? So if you want to set up a kind of a same laboratory kind of thing for a different kind of research and all, so how much going to be?
From my actually had different type of projects from different organizations. So I started taking one instrument from one other instrument, and I make a whole sort of production line. So in that sense, it will be costing around, for pouch cell alone, it will be costing around 3 crore.
3 crore. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sir. And in that pouch cell setup of 3 crore, whatever the setup we have, so that means does it have any particular capacity of production? This one production capacity?
Yeah, in the 100 cell per day you can make.
Okay, 100 cell. And what will be the wastage? So when we are doing this process, what will be the wastage? How we need to handle that wastage?
There won't be any wastage.
We can optimally make use of the complete material.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, wastage is, see how long you will take time, then every experiment will give you some idea. So I would say it will not be wastage.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Ashish ji, do you want to ask something?
Good morning, sir. Sir, it's very nice session today, and I just want to know about sodium-ion battery you are talking yesterday. What types of electrolytes we are generally planning to use in sodium-ion battery?
We can use NaPF6 and we also can use NaClO4. So people are using NaClO4, sodium perchlorate.
Okay,
both
sir,
the electrolytes can be used. With EC-DC, your solvent will be EC-DC.
Sir, it is thermally stable if we are planning
Yes,
to...
yes, it is thermally stable, but not as if for your lithium. Lithium can go up to 120, it can go up to 60 to 70 degree. The sodium ion systems.
Thanks, sir. Such a wonderful session.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sir, in that sense, sodium ion batteries are more into like thermal management system is quite important in that, because its temperature is a maximum is a 70, you said. So compared to a
Yes. because the melting temperature, if you are using metal batteries, in those case only I am talking about. But if you are using a rocking chair battery, then that is not a problem. If you are using metal, sodium metal, the melting point of sodium metal is around 80 degree, whereas in lithium it is 120 or 140. But if you are using rocking chair battery, then should not be any problem. It is almost same. Only energy density will be smaller as compared to lithium. Rest thing are same. So we can propose for our backups, rather having for electric vehicles, but for backups for all solar installation, we can have our to replace our lead acid batteries. Immediately we can replace with sodium ion batteries if we all people in India work together.
Definitely, sir. I think changing the sodium ion with the lead acid will be displacing a lot of this one, and we can boost a lot of energy density.
Right.
A lot of energy density when we are replacing with the lead acid with the sodium ion. That is a really good project, potential project.
Yes. Yeah, Ashish, do you want to ask again something?
Professor Yogesh, this is Amit here.
Yes, Amitji, yes.
We have a question in a chat window. Professor Sudha wants to ask you, what is the cost involved in establishing such a lab in an educational institution?
Yes, it's a very good question. In fact, the lab facility which I made from different projects in the last, because I am working in institute for the last 10 years. So I spent around 10 crore rupees. But because many of equipments have been wasted, but if you start with some basics things, I mean within 5 crores lab will be made. But I started with a 20 lakhs projects. So I started, so depending upon fund, you will aim different things. So it is not necessary. The lab which I have today, it is a total around 10 crore. But when we started working, it was 50 lakhs is more than enough to start with. Because everything cannot be done at a right place. You can always have a collaboration with some other people. But starting 50 lakhs is more than enough.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the information. Any more questions from the audience or from the participants?
Sir. Hello.
Yes, Anil. Yes, please.
Which type of carbon is used?
Sorry?
Activated carbon, whether it is beaded type carbon, which type of carbon is used?
It is a completely powder. It is a flake type of activated carbon.
It is not beaded type, which are used in chemical industry for absorption process. That is not.
No. It is a complete powder, not beaded form.
Yes, okay. And vacuum furnace, which the lobe type or vent type? Vacuum furnace, जो vacuum pump use किया जाता है. Vacuum pump. Which type of pump is used? Lobe type or vent type?
It is a vent type.
Vent type. Oh. How many torr is maintained? Torr, vacuum.
It is not very essential for us. It is for vacuum pump. We really don't look for what torque is required. Only if the vacuum gauge is there, depending upon if we have vacuum gauge 10 to the power -3, -4, then we are sufficient for that. So I really don't know how much torque is there in vacuum pump.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Okay.
But we are just concerned about the gauge. How much the vacuum has been created into the chamber, that is sufficient for us.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, any more questions? I think someone has raised his hand. Ashish Singh, sir.
I have already asked questions.
Okay.
I forgot to.
That's okay. Fine. Professor Sudha again wants to ask a question about the safety. Professor Yogesh.
Yes, which safety?
Not really sure of that. Let me just check with her mic.
If there is no more question, Amitji, we can close down the session.
Yeah, she wants to ask about the safety of the personnel that are involved in the fabrication.
There is no problem, not at all, because whatever the fabrication is being done, it is in glow box. So there is no problem with the safety. It's not lead acid battery where lead has to be exposed to the people. It is simply your oxides. There is no metal being used in any. In fact, in manufacturing plant, there is no problem with the safety as in lead acid battery we have. So it is 100% safe. Except with some cobalt if you are using, but that is also come as a compound rather than any metal.
Right. I think question has been answered. If there are no questions anymore, then we can wind up. Yes, any more questions?
No, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. So thank you, Professor Yogesh. It was very informative, and I think participants have now at least understood how a battery is made. It was it is definitely useful for all of us. With that, I would like to even thank participants for their active participation in this session. We'll have a quick break and then come back with the next session at 11:30.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir.